Hey, there's Louis. Oh, you can't hear us at the moment.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You are
Oh yeah,
beautiful and clear, and we can see you as well. And
yeah.
hey, you're also wearing a hat. I'm
Yes,
also wearing a hat. You can't see it, but I'm also wearing a beanie.
It's really cold in here.
Freaking freezing. My place as well. And I refuse to turn.
Yeah. Well, I have had the heating on a couple of times, but
Same. Yeah.
but you can't justify it on all day. That's just
Have you got a storage heater?
no. I've got central heating and radiate.
The scintillating conversation that people join this podcast for is, what kind of heating?
Well, this is the stuff people want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do wrestlers heat themselves with?
At the moment, it's jumper and beanie hat.
Yeah.
Insider information. Oh, awesome. Great. So let's get this started. Kenneth Halfpenny, welcome to Getting to Graps with.
It's a
honestly,
pleasure.
The first, well, when we decided, we should have guys from the school on, me and Aidan's first choice was, shall we ask old Kenny Halfpenny? And
Because there was literally no one else.
No one else would answer our messages.
Well, I've been listening to you guys since your first episode, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So just pleasure to be on.
Oh, don't worry, the quality is going to go downhill immediately. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, your viewings are going to plummet after this.
Oh yeah, ratings going down.
Yeah. Down from 4 to 1, I guess.
I'll still listen.
Yeah.
How have you boys been doing?
Aidan, how are you doing?
Busy actually. Work has picked up, so I'm actually super busy at the moment. Yeah. How about you, Ben?
Same actually. Work has picked up. We've got December deadlines. Yeah. Working from home, you think, it's great. I'll have all this extra time, but you end up working longer hours than if you were in the office. So,
Yes.
Yeah, work and life balance has kind of been smushed together and the lines blurred.
Well, it's just a sign of the times we're living in at the moment, isn't it? Nobody is able to do the stuff they want to do.
Are you working from home, Kenneth?
No, I'm based on site, so
Nice.
I'm constantly out and about, and because we've got the status as key workers, we're able to essentially carry on as normal. So
Okay.
Haven't stopped, and it's been a blessing in disguise, because I think if I'd have been stuck at home all this time, I'd have slowly driven myself mad.
Yep.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
Yeah, the weekends with nothing to do about bad enough, but having
oh god,
yeah, like during lockdown 1, because that's what I call them now. I call them lockdown 2, and the space in between the two was the before the dark time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to lockdown 7.
Oh mate, I probably won't make it as far as lockdown 7.
No. Oh yeah, no, it's getting bad.
During lockdown 1, it went over the Easter bank holiday, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So most people would have had the Monday and the Friday and the Monday off, as well as the weekend. I had the Thursday off as well. Just 5 days of sat at home doing nothing. It was the worst Easter bank holiday ever. I was so miserable. I was so just frustrated with life.
Yeah, fed up with everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And the weather just makes it so much worse. Everything's cold and grey.
Yeah, at least during Easter it was somewhat warm.
Yeah, you can at least go out more.
Yeah, now it's just cold.
But sorry, moving on to brighter topics. We're so happy to have you join our podcast today, Louis. Sorry, Kenneth. This is the worst thing about being a wrestling trainee is not only have you got like 30 people in your class to like learn their names, everybody's also got their ring name, which you also have to remember. And 5 of the guys at the school have also got the same name.
And some people want you to use their gimmick name, and some people, like Gideon, I call Gideon all the time, and I call you Kenneth. Ben, it's easy.
Ben's got the easy ride. He's just he'll never change. Like Dan McGee's always going to be the same.
Yep. Although sometimes I wonder, like when I'm talking about Ben, I'm like, Ben, I'm thinking, is that his real name or his wrestler name? Are they going to know his real name or his wrestler name? Because there's some red wrestlers, when we go to the York Hall shows, they'll be like, oh, go grab so-and-so. And I'll be like, who's that? And they'd have to tell me his gimmick name.
Who is this person? Like, when the first session we had Joel Redman over at the Portsmouth School, he actually had to ask, like, is Kenneth your real name? Like, no.
You could definitely pass as
like,
Kenneth. I would believe you're a Kenneth.
Yeah, I think I fit a Kenneth. Well, Kenneth's my middle name.
There's that question answered then. Okay.
In
we're
reality,
down to 4.
Well, it's one of my middle names.
Okay, yeah. I think it was one time, I think it was Phantasmo, but they didn't use his name Phantasmo. They used his actual name, and I was like, who the hell's that? And then
his actual name isn't Phantasmo. Fuck.
I wish it was, but if sometimes the wrestler name's cooler, so you want, like, I'd rather call him Phantasmo than a normal name. But, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, but it's not as good as TaylorMade Aiden Taylor, is it?
That is now taking a life on its own on Twitch.
It really is. I've been following you on Twitch. That has become a thing. Mostly driven by Jørn Simmons.
Yeah, it all happened because I commented on, I can't remember who's. Oh, Jørn and Mad Kurt were doing a stream together, and I commented something, and Kurt went, "Oh, it's TaylorMade Aiden Taylor," and Jørn laughed so hard.
Oh yeah, he wet himself, didn't he?
Yeah, now everyone.
That was the Among Us stream, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. You were correct there. You were in it, yeah.
I was just being really quiet because you got these powerful personalities like Jørn and Mad Kurt. It's like, yeah, I'll just sit at the back. I'll just play.
Yeah, I was planning on doing the same until Jørn kept calling me out because he loved saying TaylorMade Aiden Taylor.
And now you've almost become one of your biggest fans.
Yeah, it's quite, it's strange. And even if we're in a rush, like we're playing a game and he needs to say something really quickly, he still says TaylorMade Aiden Taylor as quickly as he can. And it's one of my favorite things. It's the best thing to come out of lockdown is that.
Well, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel of the best thing to come out of lockdown
is my name getting over. Yeah.
But I've been enjoying your streams.
Thank you.
Are you still streaming Tomb Raider?
I beat it on Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. I can't remember these days.
Yeah, I think it was Wednesday.
Yeah, so I beat it. I think the total game time came to just under 5 hours.
It's about the same length of almost double the length of time that Kurt's been trying to become the guy.
Yeah. Oh, his came to his total stream time was something like 50 plus hours, was it?
I think it said 30.
Oh God, yeah.
That might be 50 for the whole game, but I think for the final boss it was close to 30.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it might be 30 just for the final boss. But yeah, my total stream time was like 10 hours, but the total game time was just under 5 because I'd skipped 3 levels. I need to practice those skips more.
Yeah, you do.
I failed a lot.
Well, one of them you were on for almost 20 minutes before you just went, nah, I'm not getting this.
Yeah. So I'm doing that, and I've set myself a goal that if I reach 50 subscribers, I'm going to have 2 of these awful sour sweets.
Oh dear, that's probably one of my favorite. Probably the best. One of the best so far is just your reactions to that first sweet.
Oh, it was horrendous.
How sour are these sweets that they are almost like a bad thing to? Like, I don't understand if it was like super hot sauce or something, but is that like super sour sweet?
Similar vein to that, but just on the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, it's like, like you get really hot sauce and you wouldn't put it on food. You'd sort of do it as a thing when you have your mates around as a joke.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's just these sweets that I think the only way you'd have them is if you're doing like a Russian roulette and you want to punish someone. So I said, once I get to 25 followers, I'll have one. And I thought we got to 25. It turns we were on like 23 or 24. But Kenneth didn't tell me that. He just let me go ahead.
In fairness, I thought you'd legitimately got to 25.
Yeah.
But it was funny. But you did get to 25 by the end of the stream.
Yeah.
I think it counted.
But that messed me up for like 40 minutes.
God, yeah, you were ruined.
Oh, because it comes in 3 layers. So the outer layer is just the worst, and it just brings pain. And then you're like, oh, this is nice blueberry, hard, sweet. I'll just keep having this. And then you sort of break through that layer, and there's another layer underneath. And then at the very end, there's sort of like a small weird thing in the middle that if you break that, it just releases this really sour powder into your mouth.
Jesus.
And it messes up your teeth for like,
I was going to say, like,
12
I'd be
hours.
worried this is going to like mess up my stomach and my digestive system.
It just makes your teeth feel really chalky for 12 hours.
Ooh. Even if you brush them.
Oh, yeah. I brushed my teeth like twice that night, 3 times maybe. I can't remember, but but I watched it back to edit it, and yeah, it did make me laugh. But at the time, I was just like, because Thrilligan Milligan was commenting saying, "Do another one again," and I was trying. Oh, yeah.
What a savage.
Yeah, as I was trying to pull off a precise skip, but I'd done it.
You did, yeah, you did. Okay, I'll give you that. You fought through the pain, and you managed.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Kenneth Halfpenny. Wow. Where are we going to start? We want to hear basically your life story, if you will. We've got plenty of time. Let's face it.
I was born on Friday the 13th of October, 1989. I guess not. I think I don't know. I don't know where to start, really.
The best place to start is we usually find where we first got into wrestling.
Was it something you heard about first, or did you see it first? Was it a thing your friends were into and you found, or?
Well, I think it was actually pretty similar to yours, Aidan. Like my first introduction was through the wrestling. I think it was the PlayStation was my first exposure to wrestling, because I think I got the PlayStation 1 in 1998, and it was I think it was Christmas of 98, and it came with I got a whole stack of games with it. I got FIFA World Cup 98, Tekken 2, Doom, Descent.
Yeah, so good.
A bunch of games that I was horrendous at.
That sounds like a good Christmas.
It was a very very good Christmas. It was a lot of fun. But one of the games that was also in that bundle was a WCW game, which was horrendous. It was possibly it was a horrible game, but I remember it purely because if you put the cursor over the wrestler that you wanted to pick, they do like a little promo.
Oh yeah, I've seen these.
Yes, I only know what's his name? Wunderbar. Alex Wright. That's the only one I know.
But that was my first introduction. I never really got used to the controls of the game, and I played it a handful of times. But that was my first knowledge that wrestling's a thing.
Okay.
But then my brother got the Nintendo 64, and he also got a WCW game, but it was made by the same people who eventually made No Mercy.
Oh yes, Team Aki.
Yeah, THQ or whatever their name was.
Yeah.
And the controls on that one were a little bit better. And the good thing about that one was that we could have 4 players on it.
Nice.
So we'd often go to my cousin's house, and they lived up in Rotherham, and we were living down in Basingstoke, so about 3.5 hours between us. But the four of us would sit with the Nintendo, because we had four controllers, and we just do these big 4-man fatal 4-ways and survivor type matches. And we'd spend our entire weekends just doing that.
Amazing.
And it was through that you start picking out some of the names, and like you start recognizing names. So there was the 3 characters we always used to play. It was Rey Mysterio, Psychosis, Ultimo Dragon,
the colourful ones.
Yeah, weirdly enough, my brother was rubbish at it, and he always used to play as Eric Bischoff, which I never understood. Yeah, It was because the Bischoff character didn't do any grappling. He just did.
Oh, he was
punch.
karate, didn't he?
Yeah, so that was so. My brother always played as Bischoff, and then when we got then No Mercy came out, so we upgraded to No Mercy and started playing all of the as the WWF characters, and we just have these 4-man TLC matches or tornado tags. Like my cousin is me and my brother, and yeah, we all had our own characters made. And that was like our first introduction. And I can never remember exactly which match was the first proper match I ever watched. But at some point, they also got Sky and started recording the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So whenever we'd visit them, we'd probably start off by watching one of the pay-per-views. And I think the first one was SummerSlam 01.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, so SummerSlam 01. And the reason it's that, and I meant to look this up earlier, but I forgot to.
I've got it here.
Oh, have you? Is there a TLC match or a ladder match on that card somewhere?
There's Rob Van Dam versus Jeff Hardy in a ladder match.
Yeah, that was the one. They said, oh yeah, there's a ladder match on here, but we've already seen it, so we'll just fast forward it. Okay, I didn't want to see it. Don't worry. Remember but we did watch the two main events, which were Booker T and The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kurt Angle and Stone Cold.
Yes, that was yeah.
And this was about the time that Kurt was doing his not Mad Kurt, like proper Kurt. He was doing his he was a baby face at this point, and I just remember being how outraged I was that the match had ended in a DQ, but Kurt didn't get the belt. So
Yes.
I was outraged. And then the next month, when we visited them again, it was then Unforgiven. So then Kurt wins the belt, and that was my first introduction to watching it. I didn't start watching it religiously until about 2002, and I can almost pinpoint it to the moment. And do you remember that show that used to be on Sky? It was called The Bottom Line.
Oh yeah.
It was like kind of like a raw highlight show,
Yeah.
for lack of a better phrase. And they had a video package at the beginning, and it was actually from the previous week's SmackDown, and it was Jeff Taker in a ladder match.
Oh yeah, that was a great match.
Yeah, and it was that video package alone that got me like, oh, I'm going to watch this all the time now because that was great, and never really looked back, and yeah, just carried on from there. So all through my teens, I was obsessed and just never stopped.
Video packages do hype you up.
Yeah.
And they are severely underrated.
Yeah, especially that one. When you've got, it's just a standard ladder match on a Raw, but you got Jim Ross going, go for it, climb your ass off, gold. It's like it got you going. But oh, he's actually going to do this, and then no, he doesn't. But it got me, and like it was the first thing I'd ever watched on TV that had captured my attention. I was like, okay, I like that. So from then, I was the wrestling fan in our family.
Okay.
That was it. And I got to start getting all of the PlayStation games at that point. So, and I was so obsessed that when I was playing the games, I'd keep a little notebook of who the champions were.
Oh yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all of the titles as well, or undisputed all the way down to European and tag, and I'd just keep a list where the title changes were and who was the champion. But the downside to that was start career mode, Undertaker was always the undisputed champion, so about 20 to 30 times the Undertaker had been the champion. So it was I was obsessed. But that was it. That was my own real love, and my cousins moved on. They grew out of it, but
Yeah.
no, not for me.
It seems to be the same for like everyone who's a wrestler. Like they become wrestling fans, as everyone did at that time period, and everyone else moved on, and like we kind of kept hold of it. And like I don't know about you, but there was an awkward part during your like late teens where wrestling was looked at as childish and really lame, and I was like trying to hide it from my friends that I still watched it, and it becomes a dirty secret almost.
I think because around like that time, like the early 2000s, SmackDown at least was on Sky One on a Saturday morning at 10. So even if you had just the basic Sky package, you could see it.
Mhm.
So you didn't need to upgrade to sports. So everyone could watch it. And even when going into year 7, year 8, and year 9, a lot of my friends were still watching it. So they'd have big wrestling matches on the school playground. And it was. And just to go off on a slight tangent, I was bullied quite a lot at school. I was the southerner in a northern school, so my accent stood out like a sore thumb. So I was the posh kid.
Mhm.
But it was because you'd go in wrestling and they were all doing like the fake punches or the DDTs, the moves that didn't require a lot. But Brock Lesnar was a big thing at that time, and I had worked out the technique to actually get people up on my shoulders and start throwing them around. Oh, Lewis is actually stronger than he looks. Let's leave Lewis alone. So
Nice.
Thank God for wrestling, because I wasn't bullied as much after that. Yeah, she's good. But
I have a little story about that Unforgiven 2001 pay-per-view, which is that was the very first thing I did when I got internet in my house, was go to WWF.com.
Oh yeah.
It was just after that SummerSlam pay-per-view, and they had like in the bottom left tab, they'd have like surveys, and one of them was, who do you want to win the main event of Unforgiven, Kurt Angle or Stone Cold? And I voted Kurt Angle. I saw that he was winning by like 70-something%. Then at the pay-per-view, Kurt Angle won the championship.
Yeah.
So that convinced me that this is how the bookers work out who's winning the matches.
So it's Taboo Tuesday about 5 years before the actual thing.
Yeah, but because I knew as a 10-year-old it wasn't real, but then but I was like, oh, this is how they work out who they want to win matches.
Yeah.
They just ask us, so I get to pick. And then there was a match later on when I voted on, I think, Jeff Hardy winning something, and he didn't win, and I was like, oh, maybe not then.
Well, I think around that time everyone kind of knew that it wasn't quite real, but I think nobody really knew, right, how is it not real?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You didn't know kind of like the inner workings, right? How do they do it? Right, I know it's not real, but how are they
How do they bleed? How do they land on their
What's-
head and not get hurt?
Yeah, what's going on? And like, for me, like the ignorance was part of what made it, because I didn't know how it was worked. It was like, okay, all right, it's real to me. It works.
It's real enough, I always say.
Yeah, well, at least it was then. Even post Attitude, which I missed completely. But even post Attitude, you still were able to get invested in the stories, especially when you have a guy coming through and he's challenging for the title for the first time. Like, you get, okay, right, I can believe that he's worked hard for this, and you get that sense of achievement, and you live vicariously through that character. It's like, yes, get it, well done. But no, it's not the same anymore, though, is it?
But
Like the good old days.
who was the first? So when you were going through, who was the first wrestler you sort of were attached to, growing up watching it?
Attached to,
because you say the first 2 matches you saw on that pay-per-view were Kurt Angle, Stone Cold, The Rock, and Booker T.
And
Was
Kurt
it them
Angle
guys
is
that?
your favorite wrestler, right?
Kurt Angle historically is my favorite wrestler, but not until a couple of years later did I think the first one I kind of. The two that I really identified with, and one of them was Jeff because of that ladder match promo.
Yeah.
But then from that point he wasn't around much, and after that he left. Thinking 03, and so the only other one was Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
He would have been right in his comeback at that point.
Yeah, and the SummerSlam 02 was the first one that I was able to record using my own TV at home. So I watched that a couple of times, and that street fight was something else.
Yes, that was
The Triple H street fight, yeah. Fast forward a couple of months, and then the next one was the Survivor Series,
Yes.
the Elimination Chamber.
Yes.
So,
I love that pay-per-view.
with the
That is-
brown tights.
yeah, it's still the horrible brown tights.
Yeah.
It's still my favorite my favorite pay-per-view to date, really, because every match up and down that card was tremendous.
Yes, every match is fantastic. And I believe it was the last pay-per-view where every match had a title change.
Yes, that's it exactly.
Yeah.
Every match had a title change, and it was just because, and also every match was different as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
And because no matter what kind of wrestling you're into, there's something for you. Like the 6-man at the beginning, you got your table, like hardcore match. The women's match is great. You've got the high-speed tag team match with the SmackDown 6.
Yeah.
That's such a good pay-per-view.
Yeah, even the cruiserweight match, Jamie Noble and Billy Kidman, even that was a solid match.
Yeah.
And of course Lesnar's first loss.
Yes. Scott Steiner's debut.
Oh, that was a great debut.
Yeah.
But that was at a time when some of the pay-per-views were on Sky Sports as opposed to Box Office.
Correct.
And I had Sky Sports, so I was able to video that. But then the next 4 pay-per-views after that were all on Box Office, so I couldn't get them. So so I had that on video for about 4 or 5 months, and I just watched it like continuously on repeat. And yeah, it became one of my favorites. And Shawn Michaels became he was the guy. And
yeah, I remember I was severely disappointed that Kane didn't win the whole thing.
he deserved it. I think he deserved to win that. I mean, he came in like the figurative house of fire and just absolutely cleaned everyone out.
He was my man.
Yeah, wasn't he like the second man out?
No, he was second to last, but he was supposed to be last, according to Jericho's book.
Did they mess up? Is this the one where they messed up the order of who came out the cage?
Yes. According to Jericho's book, it was supposed to be Kane out last and Shawn Michaels out third.
Oh
but
my
they
God.
messed it up.
That's amazing that they managed to. Like, I would never have noticed, and they still have managed to have an incredible match.
Mm-hmm. That match is, and Triple H was doing half of it with like a crushed windpipe.
Oh yeah, that was savage. Like
Van Dam came off the top of the pod and couldn't like stretch out right for the frog splash. Ended up landing knee first on Triple H's throat.
Yeah, and to think he actually finished that match. He was like, that match went on for like at least another 40 minutes.
Yes,
and he finished it. Like that's insane.
That whole last stretch as well is just him and Triple H working super, consistently.
I don't think Triple H gets enough credit for how freaking tough he is, because the other example of that is when he tore his quad against I think it was Benoit and Jericho. I think it's when he was tagging with Steve Austin.
Yes, I actually watched that recently. Yeah,
he tore his quad, and Jericho puts him in the walls of Jericho on the announce table for a very long time, which is the most.
Can you just imagine how much pain he was in?
Yeah, the worst possible move you probably do if you've torn your quad is to get put in the walls of Jericho. Oh my goodness.
I have no idea what I would have done in that situation.
I'd have probably curled up in a ball and cried.
Yeah, I would just...
and then he has to get up, run in, and do like one more thing.
Oh my God, yeah, I couldn't even imagine. But there's almost been like, I think back in those days, it was almost like a badge of honor if you hurt yourself that badly and carried on. Nowadays, if you hurt yourself that badly and carry on, everyone looks at you and go, "Mate, you should have stopped.
Yeah,
get out of there." Because you can see why. But still, massive respect to him for carrying on like that.
So when you were growing up, were you a fan? Because like you say, you missed the ladder match, but you saw the thing for the Jeff Hardy Undertaker one, and you had the Survivor Series. The Elimination Chamber. Were you a fan of the gimmick matches?
At first, I was.
Yeah,
but I think, and this is a whole nother conversation. But at least at that point, even then in like the early 2000s, the gimmick matches were like the end of the feud. They still felt special when they were done.
Mm-hmm.
what was it? Like there was a Hell in a Cell. It was just No Mercy 02. Triple H was it? No, it was Lesnar and the Undertaker.
Yeah, that's my favorite Hell in a Cell match, I think.
Yeah, what a great match! What a great match that was. But then the next Hell in a Cell wasn't for like another 18 months. It was like a year. It's like a year and a half later. There was the next one.
Was that the Kevin Nash Bad Blood?
Yeah, the Kevin Nash H one. But then because they were so far apart, they felt special, and like it was a big deal. But now they have entire pay-per-views where they have about 4 or 5 steel Hell in a Cells and nobody bleeds.
Yeah,
it's been watered down.
Yep. Money in the Bank was the same for me.
Yeah. Like I said, the first one, great. Like, loved it. But then again, it got stupid. It got ridiculous. It's been done so much that everyone's become just desensitized to it.
Didn't they get to the point where they had 2 Money in the Bank winners,
they
like
got
2 suitcases?
Don't they have a
One for Raw
tag?
and one SmackDown.
Yeah, I think so. And then you got the men's and the women's, I think, for each as well. Am I right in that? I haven't watched
so,
the past 4 or 5, but
God, that's so bad that we don't know this. We're supposed to know.
I deleted my network subscription in July, so I have no idea.
okay, yeah.
I stopped watching them a long time ago. I was only holding on to the network for some of their historic stuff. But then even then, it became too much, just too big a task to challenge. I was like, nah, I can't be asked for this anymore. Delete, gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was so bad. But going back to your original question, like if you had a decent a good singles match that took you through the emotions, sometimes that they were always more captivating than the big gimmick matches, and which might tie into a question that might come up later, but I'll bring it up now. It was the match that made me want to be a wrestler. Was the Kurt Angle Shawn Michaels match, WrestleMania 21.
Oh,
yeah, that match, and that there was no gimmicks to that. It was just a straight up wrestling match. But that was the one that made me go, "Yeah, I want to do this. I think I could do this," because that match was sensational. I was the Shawn Michaels fan. I was there going, "Please don't give up, hold on, get to the don't give up," and then taps like, "Oh, how upset! I hate Kurt." But knowing what I know now, I love Kurt. Kurt's the best.
Yeah.
But that match got you going. Like that final bit where he finally grapevines that ankle and he's holding on. Like I remember the first time I watched it, my heart was going. Just no, don't give up. And yeah, you can't. It's very hard to find matches that replicate that now.
Yeah. Which I think the last great. Yeah, that's like the best thing about wrestling is that you can manipulate the story to do that.
Yeah, and get you going. You get lost. You get lost in the story. You get lost in the match.
Yep.
It's so difficult. But I can't remember the last time a WWE match actually did that. I think the CM Punk Cena match.
I was thinking that.
Yeah,
that's nearly 10 years old.
I can't believe that. That's ridiculous.
That is. I watch that match like once a year because I have the Blu-ray, the CM Punk Best in the World Blu-ray, and it's on there.
Oh yeah, same. I've got the entire pay-per-view on DVD.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I believe it's the only WWE DVD I have. I'm just over it now. Oh wait, no, I've got ECW One Night Stand 2005, and then that because it comes with JBL's commentary. He's like to that whole pay-per-view, and I don't think he knows it.
Drunker as the pay-per-view goes on as well.
It's kind of awkward listening back now because he's like hitting on these cocktail waitresses and that.
Oh my god!
And he's like, "I'd like a cocktail."
Some stuff from that time doesn't age well.
No, especially like it seems listening back to it, it's like they knew JBL was going out there, so someone snuck a microphone onto him, and the whole half the pay-per-view, he comes out, he's just bad mouthing everyone. So that's the reason I bought that DVD.
But he got some tremendous heat that night.
Oh yeah.
Was that when he stiffed the Blue Meanie as well? Or was that at the next show? I can't remember.
Ooh.
I think
it was that night. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he takes the mic off and goes down then. Yeah. So were you a wrestling fan consistently, or did you drop off at any point? Because like Ben was saying, like I think everyone goes through a phase where they're not embarrassed. Yeah, I say embarrassed. Yeah, to tell people they're wrestling fans, so maybe they don't watch it as much. Or were you consistently watching it your whole life?
I think I was consistently watching it up until about the time I started with the Portsmouth School of Wrestling, weirdly enough. So about 2002 to 2014, I was watching it every week.
Okay, would you say that's because you discovered independent wrestling and like the world of that? Did that take your interest away?
It's hard. Like occasionally, I'd venture off into something else, but independent wrestling wasn't something I was very very familiar with. Like definitely not on the British circuit. I think.
Yeah.
Do you remember there used to be a channel on Sky called the Wrestling Channel?
Yeah.
I remember it, but I don't remember watching it. But I was aware of it. Yeah.
I remember watching it, and that was one of the few places you could actually get TNA. So yeah, and if you wanted something else, and they also Ring of Honor used to be on that as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Ring of Honor and TNA, some of the early days of TNA as well. So that was the first time you recognize names like CM Punk, Samoa Joe, Colt Cabana, because they used to have little highlight package adverts in between the programs.
Yes, I've seen them now, but I wish I'd seen them back in the day.
Yes, but that was the only real exposure I'd had to anything that wasn't the dub.
Okay.
I think it was around 2008 that I'd actually started looking into actually doing it myself.
Yeah.
I was still living up in Rotherham at the time, and I went to start training at a little place that you might have heard of. It was called 1PW.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. They were based out of Mansfield up in York. I was living in Rotherham, which was about half an hour, 40 minutes drive.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a training school that was based out of a working man's club in Doncaster.
That sounds like a British wrestling training story.
Yeah, really was. They had the ring locked up in a storage unit in the car park of this working man's club. And the start of every session was building the ring.
Ugh.
And but you remember, like 1PW, they had that crossover with TNA, so they'd get a lot of the TNA guys over. Yes, and you look down one of their cards and you see Christian, Matt Hardy, Abyss. You see all these names on there. It's like, oh, okay, 1PW is the place to be. But then training with them for 2 months, and then they close their doors.
Ugh.
So it was random. I can't speak to it exactly, but the rumor going around at the time was that they'd had Ric Flair over for a tour, and this was just after his WrestleMania exit.
Yeah.
And he wanted like top quality accommodation. He wanted limousines. He wanted all of the expensive stuff. And the rumor was that he eventually bankrupted them.
Ooh.
I was going to say, he must have cost a fortune.
Yeah, exactly. And I've never seen any documents that prove that, or spoken to anyone who's been able to corroborate that. But it may just been the trainee talk at the time. But that was the rumor, was that a Ric Flair tour had essentially bankrupted them to the point that they closed down and shut. And with that also went the 1PW Academy as well. That went with it.
How did you find the academy? Was it a magazine or was it online?
Weirdly enough, went in my last year of school. Me, a couple of the guys, we'd all kind of discovered that we were all wrestling fans. So we'd tried setting up our own little federation in the school, like up after hours, we'd go into the gymnastics store and nick one of the mats and set it up.
Amazing.
We got each other. We all had wrestling names. We got a CD player and started playing the entrance music and the work.
Yeah.
And well, one of the guys there, the guy called Leon, who's still a friend of mine now. Me and him were kind of the two who loved it the most, and we said, "Oh, we're going to do this one day. Yeah, me and you, we're going to be tag team champions, and we're going to go to WWE. We're going to main event WrestleMania. All of that fun stuff that you say when you're 16 years old and you don't know any better."
Yeah.
And you don't know that tag teams won't ever main event.
Yeah, especially over there.
Yeah.
And, but then we finish school, and I go off to college, and he just goes straight into work, and we almost like lost contact. So didn't talk for a couple of years, and then I kind of messaging him away on MSN. If you remember those?
Yeah.
All back to the past, and he said that he was training, and he was training at this 1PW place. I said, "Mate, can you take me along?" And I had a car, so I offered him a lift.
Yeah.
I drove him down. Like went to my first session. Found out like I really enjoyed it. Loved it. The bump taking was fine, and then he never went again, and I carried on.
Oh.
So I don't know why he didn't carry on, but he took me to my first session, and it hasn't really ended.
So what was your first session like? Can you remember?
It was vague. It's quite vague because I was kind of awestruck about just being there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think there was going to be many people there, but then I come into this class and there's about 20, 30 guys there, including a young Robbie X.
Right.
Yeah, he was there. Got taught the basic bumps. Did them without much difficulty. I kind of practiced on a trampoline, just learning how to take my own bumps. But then I got given. Then they were going through a couple of moves. They went through a snap suplex, not a normal suplex, a snap suplex, and they got one of the pros to get in there and give it to you. I got in there. He hooks me up. I give him the little jump, and he pops his hips. Bang. Completely just winded myself, just absolutely knocked all of the wind, and I was like, "Oh my god, that sucked." They said, "Roll out the ring, get your breath back, make sure you're all right." Got my breath back. They went around the whole group again, and they came back round to me, and I'd recovered by this point. They said, "You want to do it again?" Like, yeah, sure, why not? Got back in there, did it again, smashed it, not winded. He said, "Good lad, good for getting back in." Because I guess that they were thinking he was either going to hate it and leave,
yeah,
or he was going to suck it up, and it just came down to a technique thing. Because before I did it the second time, they said before you hit the mat, exhale. That way there's no air in your lungs to give you that sense of being winded, and I did. It worked, and I just never looked back. I just enjoyed it so much. I just kept going, but then they shut, which was disappointing.
Yeah.
But as you heard your story about when you went to the Portsmouth School of Wrestling for the first time. It's like was that a really intimidating atmosphere to walk into?
It was intimidating because I had no idea what to expect. But yeah, and like it's the same thing. Like if you ever go and meet 20 complete random strangers,
yeah,
and you're going to do something as awkward and unusual as professional wrestling, it's always going to be
trust a complete stranger with your body.
That too, and I think it's the same with everyone. I think the first stepping through the door for the first time is like the hardest thing, because especially like I remember once we had someone new come into the school and we were all getting ready to do squats. There's about 15 of us there, and this person just walks through the door and just sees the 15 of us all look at them at the same time. Like, I can't imagine
like, who is this? Can we intimidate them away?
Yeah, like it sort of feels that. But the strangest thing is, like, wrestling fans love meeting new wrestling fans.
Yeah, yeah.
But you completely forget that when you meet new, like in that situation, you're with, I guess, the most diehard of wrestling fans because these are people willing to do it. But that sort of just goes out the way when you just see 15 people staring at you. You're like, oh no.
I regret this. I regret my decision instantly.
You're
Yeah.
doing something completely new to you whilst being watched by those 15, 20 new people that you've never met before. It's it can be very intimidating.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I suppose there's almost there's a little bit of judging going on. There's the guys who are already here who are kind of looking this person up and down, going, "Oh, does he look like he could do this?"
Yeah, he won't last a
will he-
week.
Yeah,
How long is he going to last? And then at the same point, you're walking in there going, "Okay, how big are all these guys? They're all bigger than me."
Well, that's the other expectation is you go there and you expect everyone to be like huge and jacked and like really athletic, and you feel like, oh, I'm going to be like the least athletic one, the least capable one. You just feel like completely intimidated by what everybody else is going to look like.
Yeah, and nowadays people walk through the door and they see Benjamin Black and they go, "Nice."
Yeah, they go, oh, I've got to compete with this.
Oh my god! It was. Yeah, I think it is as you said. You said it kind of first. The hardest bit is walking through the door,
Mhm.
and not psyching yourself out and just getting involved, because
Yeah.
that's the only way. It's the only way you're going to learn.
And like, even like when I did it and then went away because I had to, like, even then, like, coming back through the doors, I think was maybe a little bit harder than going through them for the first time, because you feel like, oh, are they going to remember that I left? Are they going to want me back? And this and that. And you sort of psych yourself out.
Timer.
But like, wrestling schools want trainees. They're never going to turn down a trainee. Not in a sort of like, we want money kind of way, but like, if you get 30 trainees, you have a chance of making one superstar. If you get 50 trainees, that the odds of you having two superstars is even bigger. So they're never going to say, like, what the odds of you turning up and them going, nah, mate, you can't come in. Not going to happen. Like, everyone's welcome at wrestling.
Yeah, and also in a 30-person class, you find some way to stay motivated.
Yes.
However, in like a class that's got 3 guys in it or 4 guys in it, all of a sudden the same motivation just kind of plummets through the floor, and you go, why is there nobody here?
Yes.
We get up for this.
You begin doubting that, oh, is this going to be successful at all?
Yeah, completely. I mean, Aidan, you've been to some of the Sunday morning sessions before lockdown.
Yeah.
Virtually hardly anyone at them.
2 people sometimes.
Yeah, but then you compare that to the Sunday morning to the Wednesday night, and just the different. There's a different atmosphere in both, and
it's strange though, because on the Sunday ones I feel like I get to do more, and sometimes I'll learn more. But on the Wednesday ones, your motivation is much higher.
Yeah, I guess because everyone there, because there's loads of other people around you who are all working towards the same thing.
Yeah. So, how big was the gap between 1PW and the Portsmouth School? Was there anything in between?
So once 1PW had shut, they sent a message round to their little group forum and said, look, we're closing our doors, unfortunately, but if anyone wants to continue wrestling, there's this other training school just over here in Mansfield. It's not that far away, run by a guy called Chris Travis. And they said, if you still want to learn, we recommend you go and learn with Chris. And so I actually went there, learned from them, that was a big change from the 1PW school, which was using a 20x20 ring, to the to the school that Chris was running, which was in essentially a 12x12. The ring. but the style of training was pretty much the same, and started there in October, and by April of 2009 I'd had my first match, and then once had about 10 matches there.
Whoa. How was your first match?
The most nerve-wracking experience of my entire life. It was both terrible and wonderful, because they put this show on, and it was a trainee show, and every trainee had been paired up with a pro to get them through, except for my match, where Chris had said that me and one of the other guys, you guys actually work quite well together. You guys are going to wrestle each other, and you're going to go on first.
Ooh.
So we opened the show. It was me under the guise of Corey Green at that time, like the worst wrestling name of all time. And
I've heard worse.
Yeah, against a guy called Chris Holmes. We both had our first matches against each other. So neither of us had been on a show before, but Chris had trusted us to go out there and put on a show. And for a first match, it wasn't awful. It was actually really good.
Wow.
We tossed a coin for babyface and heel.
Did you toss a coin for who was winning?
No.
Oh.
No, they said the babyface is going over in this match. First match on the show, the babyface has got to go over.
Okay. Oh, so it kind of was the coin toss was who was going to win then.
Well, the thing is, both of us wanted to be heels. We both wanted to be heels.
I mean, you kind of did, yeah.
But then he won the toss to be heel, so then I got to win the match, and I won it with, guess what, the ankle lock.
Oh, nice.
Did you bring the straps down first?
I wasn't wearing straps.
Oh.
No, I was wearing the biker shorts. I was only 19.
Oh, that's the thing we have to go into is wrestling gear.
Yeah.
That's a topic for another time. We'll bring you back for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, please. But we had our first match against each other, and
what kind of venue was it?
It was a tiny little working man's club. I think it barely held about 50 to 70 people.
Yeah.
But because it was all friends and family, they all made a lot of noise.
Hey.
My dad and his wife and my uncle and his wife, they drove up from the 3 hours from Basingstoke to come.
Oh. I mean, thinking back, like you got to open the show. That's better than if you were like halfway through, I imagine.
Yeah, that sounds like a great debut, to be honest.
It was, and I've still got the match on DVD at home.
Oh wow!
Amazing.
Oh.
Every year, without fail, Chris, my opponent, will message me or post a photo from that time, because it comes up on the timelines.
Yep.
And he just goes, "Oh mate, this was so good. It was such an emotional war." I never saw this, but Chris, my opponent, swears that it happened, but he swears blind that Travis was in tears watching it backstage because and he calls it emotional war because of that. But I never saw this, so it could be lies, but it was always emotional war. That was emotional war 1. And so the next time we wrestled was Emotional War 2, which was later on in July. But I was going off to university after that, so we made that lose Leeds Town, and I lost, so I got to leave. And that was kind of the last time that I wrestled for about 4 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I'd had about 10 matches during that kind of 4 or 5 month spell. Off to university, and then I couldn't afford to do it after that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so difficult. And Ben, you said you went to the UPW. Is that right?
VPW, yeah.
VPW, yeah.
Just around the corner to the Portsmouth School of Wrestling. Well, it's where Portsmouth School of Wrestling is now.
Yeah, what year was that?
Christ, I'm so bad with years. 2012 maybe, 13.
Okay. Because I think when I first started uni in Southampton, I'd looked up wrestling schools, and I'd found VPW, and I went there for 1 session. And coming from Chris Travis's place to going into VPW. It was a completely different way of teaching, or Tom had just a different way of teaching, and can't say that I really liked it. Yeah, it just put me off completely. So I kind of gave up on wrestling at that point, because I don't know how much you went into when you were at VPW, but his style was very much you must lock up like this. Your arms must be this far, this far, at this angle in comparison to your other arm. And
yeah, he was very focused on the details, to the point where you'd spend like half a training session just doing lockups until everybody could do a lockup perfectly, and we'd never move on to anything else.
Yeah, and it's like everyone's learning the same thing, and there's no room for individuality or to put your own mix on it. And after going to that one just once, thought, nah, maybe not. Maybe the wrestling thing is probably something I just forget about and not do ever again. So I think in February of that year, 2010, I went back up to Mansfield for the last time to wrestle someone called Prince Muhammad Amin in a heavyweight title match.
Oh.
and I lost, and that was the last match I had for 4 years.
Wow. Oh wow.
Yeah, it was a long time.
So what happened in those 4 years? And what
university mostly.
Were you keeping up with wrestling at that time?
Yeah, I was still watching it religiously. Me and my house, we stayed up for the CM Punk John Cena match, the 2011 one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we stayed up for it because that.
I feel like that brought so many wrestling fans back and so many casual eyes back onto the product.
Yeah, because it went viral. It was wasn't that like one of the first wrestling things that went viral?
It was one of them. Yeah.
It was a crazy time. But I hadn't the thought of going back into wrestling still wasn't in my head. I was just enjoying it as a fan.
Okay.
I was enjoying what they were doing. I was dipping into TNA casually.
Yeah.
I was more interested in getting my degree finished, and I was also playing rugby at the time. So that took up a lot of my spare time. But it was at university as well that I dislocated my shoulder for the first time.
Fun.
Yeah. So for the first time, how it makes it sound like you've done like an enormous amount of time.
It's come out a few times since. It was operated on in 2013. I popped it out twice playing rugby, and then had it operated on. And 2014 was when I decided to give wrestling another go, because I decided that because my shoulder is just in pieces at the moment, it's not going to hold up to playing full contact men's rugby anymore. It just
wrestling was the solution.
Wrestling was the alternative, because quote unquote I can control the impact that I take.
Oh, that's kind of true, I suppose.
Yeah, so that was my justification for it, but there was still the problem of I didn't know what schools were around.
Yep.
So I just did another Google search, but RevPro came up this time, and so I thought, okay, give them a go. And I looked at the address, and it was the same place as the VPW. I thought, are they same people, just under a different name? Yeah, I thought that's what I thought. So I'd actually held off on going and thought, no, I'll leave it. But then Daniel Bryan started taking off, and his whole spring was just insane. And that was when I got the bug to, no, I'm going to get back into this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. You can do it properly, because I can't play rugby properly anymore. So I went down to RevPro, got lost, couldn't find the place.
I think everyone has that problem when going to find a school.
It's part of a rite of passage of going to the RevPro school, of getting lost when you first go there.
Yeah, you tend to just look around to see if you see anyone carrying a gym bag, which was easier before the gym opened across the road.
Yeah, and I think the way I found it was go walking past the buildings, seeing which lights were on, and just listening, see if I could hear the sound of a bump.
Yeah.
And then I walked past the building and I could hear a ring and I could hear a bump. It's like, this must be the one. So walked in there, and an experience pretty similar to yours, Aidan. You see this tiny little area with just these two different sides where you could get changed. And you introduce yourself to the Andes and go, "Hi, I'm so and so. I messaged you." Thought after 4 years, I'm not going to remember how to bump, so I'm going to have to learn these again.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, but got back in there and pretty much did them straight away. Back bump, easy. Front bump, easy. Right side bump, easy. Left side bump, pop, shoulder out. Yeah. So yeah, literally first bump, and it came straight out. But
did everybody freak out at the school?
No, I completely no-sold it. And, nobody noticed. As I landed, it popped, kind of rolled myself back up, and as I was standing up, it popped itself back in. Okay, right. Let's just pretend that didn't happen.
Wow.
And carried on the session, and fast forward 6 years, here we are.
Was when you came to RPW, was that your introduction to like the British Indies at the time?
Yes, yeah. Very much so. It was my first major eye opener into how big it was.
Yeah,
or just how it was growing. And were you around for the high stakes show? The York Hall show that year with Marty and Colt as the main.
No, so I just stopped around then, I think. Yeah, because I had to. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was trying to look at the timelines and think that your first appearance there can't have been too long after I'd first went there. So,
it was probably around the same time. Yeah.
So I went there for the first time in February of that year. So, and where'd you say you went there in April or March? Was it?
I'll have to look this up because I'll quickly have a look at this now to see. I'm not logged in on this one. I'll get there.
But the high stakes show, the York Hall one, went there in a minibus back when we did minibuses to York
yes
Hall.
Yeah, because I remember my first training session, the Andy asked me this day, "Are you up for getting on a minibus and going to York Hall?" And I was like, I've never met you people. This is
trying to get you on a bus to go somewhere.
Yeah. And but on that show they had Sting,
mm-hmm.
and that whole show start to finish was insane, and I'd never experienced anything like it. It's hard to describe when you're sat on the balcony as all the rest of the students were,
yeah.
and you're watching a young Osprey and Paul Robinson against Ricochet and Rich Swann.
Wow.
They are absolutely tearing the house down, and the whole building is going nuts. And like, this where's this been? Or where's this been all my life?
Yeah.
And yeah, that became the new goal was, I'm going to wrestle York Hall one day, and you just never look back. And I think around that time Marty was still living in the UK. I think he was actually living in Portsmouth, mm-hmm. and I think he'd worked out that I drove, and because he didn't have a car, he would sometimes ask me, "Oh, do you mind driving me to the show on a weekend?" Like, yeah, sure, why not? And I wasn't doing anything. I didn't have a girlfriend at that point, and I'd pick him up. We'd hop in the car. We'd go to a show, and he'd go backstage, wrestle his match. I'd look after his merch for him, but then I would network and meet other people. That's the first time I met Zach.
Okay.
It was a IPW. I think the show was, and Marty was setting up his merch as he usually did, and he went through the prices with me and said, like, this is this much, this is this much. Like, okay, yep, sure, no problem. But Zach was setting up shop right next to Marty, and once Zach had finished setting up, I said, Zach, do you want me to look after yours as well as Marty's? I'll look after both. He was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I had a little notebook. I was keeping a tally of who had sold what. Like, Marty sold this many T-shirts, this many DVDs. Zach sold this many shirts, and I had split. I gave them their money at the end. And I think Zach was really just really happy that I'd taken the time to actually look after his merch for him, and I'd gave him his money, and he gave me a shirt at the end. But that night, Zach and Marty wrestled. And I think they were the last match on before the break, and the audience at that show were quiet, like really, really quiet, like almost deathly quiet. Then Marty and Zach got in, and they just wrestled. And by the time the match was over, they had the audience eating out the palm of their hand. I was like, "Oh, that's how you do it. That's how it's." and it was great. And met Jimmy Havoc for the first time that night as well.
Yeah,
which was an interesting experience to say the least.
Yeah,
because he was Progress champion at that point, and he was popular and well known. And the first thing he said to me was not hello, not how are you, and he's going, so you're a wrestling fan, are you? Like, yeah, yeah, like almost scared. And it was like, well, how long have you been a wrestling fan for? Why do you want to be a wrestler? I was like, oh, well, I've just been a fan of it since I was 12. It was like, well, I've been a fan since I was 6. So what? I feel like I'm being scrutinized here. But then the party eventually finished, and we all ended up at Jimmy's house. And Jimmy had like a party there. And I walk through the door, and I see him again. And he says, look, there were 3 rules in my house. 1, make a mess, clean it up. 2, don't go in my parents' bedroom. 3, don't have sex with my cat.
okay.
I shit you not, that was one of the rules. And then there's a lot of people, about 20 odd people, all from like that IPW show. And someone had spilt some crisps on the floor. And so I went up to Jimmy and said, Jimmy, is there a dustpan and brush anywhere? And so he said, why, have you made a mess? So I just had to say, no, somebody else has, but I didn't. So I just clean it up. Mm-hmm. He said, mate, thank you so much. You're a good one. I was like, yes.
You made it.
I've been accepted. And he said, thank you so much for that. The dustpan and brushes under the sink. And that night he made sure that I had a bed.
Oh.
Everyone else slept where they fell, but he said, no, mate, here's a bed, you sleep there. I was like,
nice.
This is so nice.